I got to be at Alpha High School in Austin, Texas to watch YouTube influencer Ali Abdaal come and speak to the high school students about how he went from being a medical doctor to an incredibly successful YouTuber.
I just thought I would do a little bit of a spiel around this idea of balancing academics with the other stuff. Because when I was in school, I'd be stuck in a classroom basically all day doing stuff that didn't feel particularly challenging. I was a bit of a nerd, so I'd ask the maths teacher for extra problems and stuff that were like more interesting than the basic stuff that we were doing in class. And there was a game, a text-based role-playing game I was into back in the day. And I decided I was going to teach myself how to code and going to try and build this game. And that decision to teach myself how to code and try and build this game on the side, completely unrelated to anything academically, if I trace back any of the success that I've had in life, I can kind of trace it back to that one moment of diverging from the academic path against my mum's best wishes in that sense. But that point of diversion led to every other good thing that's happened in my life ever since. So from the age of about 12 onwards, I was sort of living these two lives. One life was during school, during the daytime, doing the academic stuff, trying to get decent grades. And the other half was in the evenings and on the weekends, I'd be tinkering away, coding, building websites, and trying to make money on the internet through offering my services for web design. So I'd make $5 here, $10 there. And when I applied to Cambridge for medical school, this was the main thing that they asked me about in my interviews. Everyone who was applying had great grades. I had decent grades. It was nothing particularly special. But the things that made me interesting and that made me stand out were the fact that I had this web design business where I was learning to code and making games on the side that I was then trying to make money on the internet. And the other thing that made me interesting was the fact that I started dabbling with close-up magic, and I would do card tricks, and I would do that at like the local hospice. And we talked a lot about those things. They didn't really seem to care about the academics, because when you're competing on the academic front, you're playing the same game as everyone else. When I got into Cambridge, and I got my first essay back, my first assignment, I think I got like 49% on it, and I nearly had a stroke and a heart attack all at once. Because 49%, it's like, I'd never seen that number before in my life. Early on in med school, I kind of realized that if I was going to try and play the academic game like everyone else was trying to do, the only way I'd be able to do it is by just working really, 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 really hard, but just putting in more hours. Because there was an even playing field in terms of like natural intelligence at this point. And so really the people that worked hardest were the ones that got the better grades. It was again weird, because as I went through medical school, a lot of how you get ahead in the medical career, it's not really about how good your grades are or what marks you get in your exams. It's kind of about who you know, and it's about the networking that you can do, and whether you're seen as someone who is sufficiently interesting or impressive for a senior doctor to take under their wing and to mentor and to help kind of get ahead. And this is basically true in every career. There's almost no career in which, by continuing to play the academic game, that is the thing that gets you ahead. The thing that gets you ahead is being interesting, being somewhat impressive, being warm, being nice, being friendly, and showing initiative to put yourself out there. And the vision that I had for my life and my career at this point was that I was interested in tech and I was interested in medicine. And I read the book 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel, and it basically talked about how any interesting innovation is in the intersection of multiple fields. If, let's say, you're a surgeon and you're really good at the surgery stuff, but also you've got a background on the side as someone who knows how to code, or someone who knows how to make physical stuff, or someone with an engineering background, or these days someone who understands AI, or someone who understands statistics, or someone who understands video. Like, you combine the field of surgery with the field of engineering, and now you can invent really cool stuff. And so as I was going through medical school, I kept up with all of this tech stuff. I joined all these hackathons. I made friends with, at the time I thought I wanted to do plastic surgery, plastic and reconstructive surgery. And I managed to worm my way into that sort of network by being their web designer. It's kind of random. And so these guys took me under their wing. I became their web designer and started getting the inside scoop on how to land a plastic surgery residency in the UK, which is a pretty hard thing to do. And then, time progressed. I decided I was going to start my YouTube channel. And now, because at the time I had this business helping people get into med school. But it's one thing having a business, and it's another being able to actually get the word out, the fact that you have a business. And that's kind of this balance between being the creator and being the distributor. In the world of startups, there's this common phrase that first-time founders focus on the product, but second-time founders focus on distribution. And usually second-time founders realize all the mistakes they made the first time they started the company, and they realized that build it and they will come is not actually a viable solution in the modern world. in reality, you have to put your head down, do the thing, and then you have to somehow get people to care about the thing. With the power of social media platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, all the platforms, these platforms literally have algorithms that are designed to put the right thing in front of the right person at the right time. And so these algorithms are literally out there working for you, that if your thing is good and you package it up in a way that makes sense and in a way that appeals to the algorithms and that appeals to users, it will go out there into the world. And so I decided to start a YouTube channel. In 2017, I decided, you know what? Let me do what's called content marketing as a thing. If I make some videos and those videos are good and those videos help people with their med school exams, then hopefully some people will sign up to my paid product. And this was a fantastic form of distribution because it ended up blowing up that business. And then the YouTube channel just started to take on a life of its own. And now 6 years later, we're on like 4-point-something million subscribers. It's completely changed my life. And thanks to the YouTube channel, I was able to quit the day job of being a doctor. In the UK, for context, when you start off working as a doctor, you're earning about $40,000, if I do the conversion. About $40,000 a year is your salary as a full-time doctor working in the UK's National Health Service, working about 60 hours a week. Those sorts of numbers are just completely dwarfed by the numbers on the YouTube channel. I'm doing a talk tomorrow at a conference just down the road where we're talking about how in the space of about 3 weeks, we managed to make $2 million for one of our online courses. And in the very first day of this launch, we made $500,000 on the internet. And it's not really about money at the end of the day. It's about, for me, the way I think of it is it's about building a life that you love. Most of us, with our work, we're going to end up working about 80,000 hours of our life. And that is a long time to work at something where you're not feeling energized or fulfilled by the thing. When I first got into med school, I would ask every doctor that I would meet, people who were way ahead of me, if you won the lottery, would you still continue to do medicine? And half of them would say, I would leave immediately. One guy even said, I would leave in the middle of the operation. That's how much he hated it. And the other half would say, I would still do medicine because I like it, but I would go part-time. And so basically from day one of medical school, I realized that, yes, I'm assuming at this point that I'll actually enjoy being a doctor, but I know I'm going to enjoy it way more if I have the option of being a doctor and if I can work on my terms rather than working on the terms that have been foisted upon me by the system. There's an analogy that I got from a book called The Third Door by a guy called Alex Banayan. He sort of lands on this analogy that life and success in business or in life or career or whatever, there's kind of 3 ways of doing it. There are 3 doors. And it's kind of like a nightclub. There are basically 3 doors into a nightclub. You've got the first door, which is where everyone is queuing up. They're queuing around the block for 5 blocks, and you're waiting for the line to go in. And then you have the second door, which is the door for the billionaires and the celebrities who can just waltz in. But what this guy, Alex, who wrote the book, realized that there's always a third door. And the third door is the door that no one tells you about. The thought of the third door to the nightclub is where you ignore the line, you ignore the extra VIP entrance for the billionaires and the celebrities, and you go around the corner, you would go down the alleyway, you would see there's a window that's slightly open, you would kind of open the window a bit, you sneak your way into the kitchen, you would make friends with the staff in the kitchen, and they would get you in to the secret entrance into the nightclub. And what he realizes throughout this whole journey of interviewing the world's most successful people is that whether it was Bill Gates landing his first deal for Microsoft or Steven Spielberg landing his first film at a really young age, all of these people ended up taking the third door. They were not in line with everyone else trying to compete for the same prize. They did not have a pre-existing background as a billionaire or a celebrity, but they found a way to take that third door. And I think in the world that we are today, you guys will by default crush it academically. But if you just focus on the academics, you're lining up with everyone else who's going to crush it academically for that first door. But if you can do the academic stuff, and then on the side, like you guys are doing with your afternoons, build something really cool and find a way to distribute it to the rest of the world, that unlocks so many opportunities for you in life, and it unlocks them in a way that just focusing on academics really doesn't. And I can pretty much guarantee that that will be your path to success, however you want to define it, but more importantly, a meaningful and fulfilled life.